So my position is about explaining the problem in the ocean on the plastisphere as hybrid ecological formation of the Pliocene. This presentation has been this work, not just a presentation, has been conceptualized together with Nicola Paolo Giacaria and with Filippo Fermaro, who was this morning one of the speaker of the session, and they apologize for inviting me for work reason. And the pictures are from Giuseppe Pinacci, and you can see the physical pictures in the main hall. So while I'm presenting right now, you will see the pictures, but without the explanation of what is in the pictures. You can find the explanation in the main hall, and the pictures there are one more step explain what is portrayed in the picture, sometimes quite unexpected. Okay, so we are trying to explore how new hybrid assemblages are reshaping and resignifying the ecological life supporting system by building upon the material semiotic of modern human assemblages and Donna Haraway's Pliocene. And we try to do it through photographic work to document the emerging ecologies and the recombinant biologies of the plastisphere as exemplary topics of the Pliocene. What is the plastisphere? Not what's the plastisphere? Okay, the plastisphere is a term which is widely used today in biological research to refer to collective of plastic colonizing organisms, so biofilms and organisms that stick to each other and other things, and includes algae, bacteria, fungi, and complex ecosystems that have evolved to live on microplastics in the oceans and various trophic debris. So we do not only refer to plastic, but different kind of human-made debris. Plastic debris in the marine environment fragmented particles that float and hangs out below the ocean surface in different ocean components depending on their weight. The habitat for plastic from the bacterial perspective is due to the fact that nutrients such as nitrogen, carbon are more significantly present on the plastic rather than less present in the rest of the water. This is one of the motivations. Unlike most natural material, plastic is highly durable and persistent and allows the spread of bacteria, fungi, algae in different areas of the oceans following the underwater currents. So this process is called rafting. So by rafting, different bacteria populate areas of the sea that were not touched by this specific kind of organism. Plastic can be a vector for pathogenic microbes showing antibiotic resistance, and also those composting plastic. All of these effects are under scrutiny right now, so we do not know exactly how plastisphere works up to now. We know that something is going on, but the scientific results are quite initial, to say. So it's something that is under exploration. What we know for sure is that, plastic and plastic-dependent organisms have already infiltrated the global biochemical system. So what we propose is to follow the theme, as Bruno Latour suggests, into the deep blue, and so start the material semiotic reading of the plastisphere. The biologist Cristina Romero made this particular conditions the Anthropocene, and say that many people have proposed projects to clean up the ocean of plastic, but this is like sweeping in the desert. So we can only wait for these little pieces to end up sedimenting and end up buried in the seabed, forming a layer that in the future will be witnesses of the era of plasticine. And this brings us to interrogating the nature and the meaning of the new marine ecologies that are emerging by a material semiotic perspective that we repute to be useful. Material semiotic, I suppose that everybody is know quite well what material semiotic is, but just to give you a few lines to read the rest of the presentation. Material semiotic requires treating everything in the social and the natural world as continuously generated effect of the webs of relations within which they are located. Working on Mary Douglas' seminal work on beauty and danger, Bruno Latour, one of the key figure in material semiotic and active method theory, commented or wrote about the peculiarity of modern society, claiming that models prioritize the work of purification over the work of hybridization. And he writes that by rendering mixture unthinkable, by hunting, sweeping, cleaning, and purifying the public arena, the models allow the practice of mediation to recombine all possible masters without letting them have any effect on the social fabric or even any contact with it. So bizarre as these masters are, they pose no problems because they did not exist publicly, and because their monstrous consequences remain untraceable. But plastisphere is actually making these consequences visible, very visible, even at the macroscopic level, as you can see in these pictures. So what Donna Haraway calls the cyborg, the trickers, the monsters, are actually everywhere because they are almost everything. So following the work of a young scholar, Kim Wells, we can claim that plastic in the oceans is not simply human-made matter out of place, but it is also a matter of life and death, as bodies come to live, travel, and die with plastic inside them. The marine debris science, entanglement, the word claims, is negative by definition. This mixture is negative by definition, and we all have the impression that this is actually the truth, the right way to look at the problem. But from an STS perspective, its association inhabits the gap between the very categories of plastic and animal, synthetic and natural, was and life. And so the entanglement that constitutes the plastisphere cannot simply be undone. So we are facing emergent ecological assemblages in the Thulucine, and we can ask ourselves, provided that we can, should we remove plastic from the oceans? The Wolf proposed to overcome the work of purification and separation, which Latour ascribed to the modern society, and affirms that the boundary distinguishing life and not life are again broken down only to be reconstituted in ways meant to motivate a particular form of responsibility. So plastic is lively and already entangled with all kinds of body. So it is only by embracing rather than worrying against or trying to undo entanglement or already tangled that synthetic materials such as plastic can be understood to have lives in relationships that we cannot spare because we are part of them. And this brings us from the material semiotic descriptive efforts to the Thulucine prescriptive efforts. Must we stay with the problem, including no-living, potentially pathogenic materials as plastic in our kin, to use Haraway's term? So, must we stay with the trouble in the Thulucine? Today, biologists cannot be considered anymore as organisms and environments alone, but we need multi-species biologists. I cannot name this as Anthropocene because we need to stay with the trouble in the multi-species model. So following Haraway's call, we have to increase and improve the number and quality of relationships between humans and non-humans alike in a time we are pressed to live and deal with the troubles generated by the anthropic activities. And this is part of what Haraway calls the Thulucine, which is a name for a time and place for learning to stay with the trouble of living and dying in responsibility on a delicate heart. So encountering the sheer nodas, the modern human whirling of the coral reef, and Haraway writes, with the requirement for ongoing living and dying of the myriad creatures is also encountered the knowledge that at least 250 million human beings today depends directly on the ongoing integrity of these holobiomes, in other words, that Haraway used, for their ongoing living and dying world. And so she specifically refers to the marine life. My point is that to explore how attachments or kins in our term between society and the sea are forged is something that can help us to stay with the environmental problems or troubles, or what we want to call it. We discussed this with Gabriela this morning, and we engage with the process of symbiosis, drawing on the composition of materialities, imaginaries, and forces in the liquid space to reconcile our common belongingness to the ocean. Making kin with hybrid oceanic assemblages is something that we may consider in our turn. She says that I think that the stretch and recomposition of kin are allowed by the fact that all earthlings are kin in the deepest sense, and it is past time to practice better care of kind as assemblages. All creatures share a common flesh, literally, semiotically, and genealogically. So the point is, are we making kin with the non-living plastic, or is plastic becoming a living matter? The symbiotic process of microplastic bacteria is forefront in biological research, and at the same time allow us to experience the Thulesian tentacular thinking, which is eminently represented by the work of the UK artist Fiona Campbell, and you can see an example in the slides. She said, Fiona Campbell said, the tentacular are finger beings like humans, squid, jellyfish, new extravagances, fibrous and flagellated beings, swelling roots. The tentacular are also nets and networks. Tentacularity is about life, lived along lines, a series of interlaced trails. And here is where we need to stay with the problem and think we must. So, to conclude, the acknowledgement of the need to learn dealing with the emergent and twined assemblages of human, non-humans, and more than human, and the interconnected physical environment they inhabit, offers an endpoint for articulating a critical analysis of rebounding with the ocean in the Thulesian. So the Thulesian perspective makes biology to appear into a process of constant change and transformation, of post-human becoming and biocultural hope, entanglement with other make all of us co-evolved symbions, where the world is a joint product between the humans and the non-humans, and also the artificial, the more than humans matters, composing the world together. Therefore, the body and material connections of living, non-living, and non-living actors allow us to understand and shape relational values, relational connections that binds together human society and the marine world, and may deliver, who knows, behavioral change in the direction we may want to see. Thank you.